Welcome to the Late Night Race Review. Drama down under with more red flags than a college party arranged by Prince Andrew. It's the Australian Grand Prix. Verstappen wins but doesn't have it all his own way. A Madrid derby with a twist, Sainz versus Alonso, and VAR says it's a foul. And Alpine decide, we don't want that pink car anymore, we'll definitely go back to blue. We wrap it up with a look at our fantasy league and our predictions game, as always. Don't forget to support the podcast by hitting those like, follow and subscribe buttons. Before listening to today's podcast, please be warned, Dave was in rant mode. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Late Night Race Review. I am Owen Scott, and with me as always is Dave Jericho and Isidro Gonzalez to break apart what was an absolutely chaotic ending to an Australian GP. Dave, how did you enjoy your chaotic rise to Sunday morning?
I'm hoping I don't miss anything on this podcast because I'm still half asleep. So if I start fading, everyone just give me a quick nudge to wake me up. But I have to say, I'm glad I stayed awake. Well, I didn't stay awake. I woke up for it. And I'm glad I did. It was full of events that were, kept it a bit spicy till the end.
What about you, Isidro? Did you rise early this morning or were you catching a replay?
I'm not the morning person. I catch the replay.
You've got that premium quality mattress that needs to be used.
Yeah.
So let's kick off the red flag debacle, the many red flags that we had. Dave, what is your opinion on how the race finished today?
I have a feeling we're going to have slightly differing opinions because I briefly, when you were messing around with your connection there trying to get on the podcast, me and Isidro were having a conversation. I just have a slight inkling that Isidro has a different opinion as to me on this one.
Okay, good.
So personally it was chaotic, but I think the race stewards largely made the right call, and the red flags, I think especially the last two, were correct. The red flag, if we just briefly go back to the start of the race, the red flag after Albon's accident, I think that probably didn't need to be a red flag realistically. I mean, there was a lot of gravel on the track. I don't think there was any there wasn't enough on the track that warranted a red flag. I think that could have easily been cleaned up by marshals under a safety car. However, I think the next red flag then for K-Mag, and then of course obviously the the absolute clusterfuck of a restart then after that. Yeah, I think the red flags were correct. And I don't know whether people, Isidro, like, do you have issues with the red flags and stuff like that, or what's your take on it?
No, the red flags were all okay. The issue was just so many stop and go. I mean, you want the race to start and finish. You never know what happened. And every time they were starting again, you never know in the first turn who's going to crash.
Oh, okay, because I thought when we were having the conversation, I just had this feeling that you thought maybe the red flags at the end were unjustified, and I thought we were going to get into a bit of a hot debate here as to how that race ended. But I think. I think they did everything right. There's a lot of complaints that everybody's screaming on social media about how the race ended, from the penalty that was given to Carlos Sainz to the red flags to how we ended on the sort of under a safety car for the final lap. And do you know the way I read this? No one's ever going to be happy. You're not going to satisfy everybody, and that's the case in every sport and everything in life. Not everybody is going to be happy. However, it always seems with F1 fans that if it goes against their team or their driver, they don't like the rule all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, this rule needs to be changed. Or if it changes the actual spectacle, all of a sudden, we don't like that rule. It didn't make it exciting, or it was too chaotic. And you're like, well, that is the rule. And sometimes the outcome of that rule is not going to be to your liking or to your taste. But that is just the unfortunate event of that particular rule. And in this case, I think the rules were correct and they were applied correctly. So, yeah, that's my take on the red flags, I think. But I think there's other issues at foot.
Yeah, I mean it is, as you say, it's always when it's your team that's affected by it, you're always going to there's going to be an outcry, but I don't think there was anything in there that wasn't applied correctly, as you say. Maybe the first one with the Albon and the grit. Go on, yep.
No, and I think as well, and obviously largely the complaints about Carlos Sainz. Actually, before we get on to Carlos Sainz, and forgive me, everybody, I'm going to be darting around constantly here because I'm desperately trying to keep myself awake and I've had no coffee. So before I talk about Carlos Sainz, another thing I was seeing a lot of was that people were complaining that the way the rules were applied, sort of they were phrasing as, hang on, what do I have it written down here? Quote, where is it? Oh yeah, saying Hulkenberg was robbed of his maiden podium, and I was like, he was never getting that podium under the circumstances of how that race went. I mean, how can you say? So now all of a sudden you just want to sort of shape the rules so that we want Hulkenberg to get the podium. So whatever way you can apply the rules to make sure that happens, let's do that. So yeah, the stuff I'm seeing. And this isn't just one comment I've seen online. This is a fairly general side of an argument that seems to be going on via kind of the social media platforms. And I just don't get it at all. And it's the same with the Carlos Sainz penalty, saying, now, whether you agree that he should have had that penalty or not, possibly a soft penalty. I think it was a just deserved penalty, but a soft one at that. But how it was applied, people are I don't think people maybe necessarily are arguing about the penalty being applied. They're more arguing that it was applied after the positions were rolled back to the previous lap because of the red flag. So they kind of say, well, technically that lap didn't count because they didn't reach the first sector for it to be recognized of the current order. So they think all penalties then don't apply for that, for the first sector that they raced. It's like, oh, well, we've gone back now to the previous lap. So any penalties that were applied there, it didn't happen. You're like, that is not how it works. And I can't believe there's people there's XF Formula One drivers, there's sort of top podcasts out there and top media outlets who are sort of saying the same thing. How can the penalty stand if they rolled it back? Like, that's the same thing. That's like saying, say Carlos Sainz absolutely torpedoed Lewis Hamilton, just for example's sake, and just wiped him out completely. And he's out of the race. And they're like, oh, well, his penalty shouldn't stand because the race is, we've rolled it back. So does that mean Hamilton's car is magically fixed now and we can go back? Magically, well, I suppose he tipped Alonso. So magically Alonso didn't get spun around. So that didn't happen either. That is just, I can't believe there's so many high-profile people in the Formula One community that are sort of saying this is the narrative, and just like, this is ridiculous. Like, the rules were applied fairly and pretty well, and with relatively good conviction as well. So yeah, I'm all happy, and that's my rant.
Very good, and good point about there were 6 cars taken out in that melee. There's
Loved it.
Yeah, it was brilliant, but no way of putting them back on the grid. So anything that happened up until then, should apply. All right, well, let's put a little bit of structure on things and kick off. When you mentioned Max there, let's talk about Max. Had any of this chaos been avoided, then Max probably would have had a pretty convincing win today. He was starting to pull away, and he was gone into the distance, wasn't he, Dave?
Yeah, I think it was even with all the drama, it was convincing. I mean, you saw how easy he overtook Hamilton there on the sort of the last two, was it the 2 DRS zones? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there's just so much pace in that car. It's ridiculous. Now, he was very slow off the first 2 restarts, the race start and then the first restart. Sorry, he was fairly slow off the start. Then on the last one, then that we actually got some racing. I think when they were all on softs, he kind of seemed to have resolved it then. But yeah, no, dominant. I think you may as well crown him now the champion. I just don't see anyone catching him.
Yeah. I mean, we had something similar on turn 13 last year. He spun the car around last year on turn 13 and just kept on going. And same thing happened again today, a little bit of a wobble. Cedar, do you think there's any issues there from Red Bull? We're seeing front locking from both Checo and Max this weekend.
I think there's a few issues. This weekend there was issues in both cars, but I think overall there's nothing to worry about. Even with Max having some problems, he still finished ahead of everyone, even with all the amounts of red flags and the safety car. He just went ahead all by himself. So even if there was an issue, Red Bull is strong enough to just beat everyone. Although Mercedes this weekend, at least Hamilton, it seems there's something there that it can bring the competition into the race again. The Mercedes was very good, not for Russell, but at least Hamilton was strong enough to fight Max in some parts of the race.
Yeah, Dave, go on.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree with Isidro on the Mercedes getting back in the fight sort of thing and showing. I think it's track specific for that car, and it was the same last season, and it seems to be the same this season. I think we're going to get a couple more tracks down the line, and they're just going to be struggling sort of down the middle of the pack somewhere. Oh, Jesus, everyone's got their hands up.
I was going to say to focus, and we'll get on to Mercedes now in a second. You're wandering there. Just wanted to say about Checo. If Checo, or if Max had started in the position that Checo had started today, Dave, do you think we would have seen the same sort of a performance, Max blasting from the back and taking over everyone? Or did you see a vast difference between the abilities of Checo and Max today?
Yeah, that's kind of, no, he's a great driver, but that's always the case. You can see with ease when Max starts at the back in any kind of race that he does, he seems to he's more aggressive with his overtakes. He's more, he's just more ballsy about it. Checo, he did a great job today. Like, I mean, I think didn't he get driver of the day today?
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job today with his overtakes. And I think, where did he finish? Sorry, let me just bring that up. P5.
With the fastest lap.
So, I mean, he did well, but I just thought there was moments when we were watching it, I was just like, I think he just didn't seem, for me, he was making his way through the pack quick enough with how easy Max overtook Hamilton.
Yeah.
The fact that Perez is in the same equipment, I thought, yeah, he would have carved through it a little bit easier. But still, that being said, P5 from where he started was a cracking result. So, I mean, I'm on the fence there, sorry.
Yeah, it seemed to be the McLaren of Lando Norris that was holding up Checo the most today. What do you think of his battle with Lando, Isidro?
I was happy to see McLaren back, not completely back to previous year, but they definitely improved from the previous two races. The fact that they both finished the race on top 10, that's something, meaning that McLaren did their homework, and for Baku, they are bringing more updates. So looking forward to see that McLaren getting to the fight again.
Interesting, just that battle between Checo and Lando there. Not quite a Mercedes, but Mercedes powered car. The Mercedes this weekend, and in particular off the start today, Dave, they had a blistering start, didn't they? Those first few corners. Yeah,
they were great. Russell's definitely gotten to grips with that car. We've said it every weekend, but Russell's definitely gotten to grips with that car and the difficulties of that car a lot better than Hamilton has. And that was clear today more than ever when he overtook Verstappen and was sort of stretching a good second or a second of a gap within the first kind of lap or two. So the Mercedes looked good today. As we were sort of touching on earlier, where we were rudely interrupted by you, our host, from continuing our rant of nonsense. I think I do think, though, it is very much track related. I don't know whether this is going to be a sign of of things that they're going to grow off of. I think we still need to see the major upgrades that are coming, but I think they're coming in Baku as well, are they?
Yeah, sure.
For Mercedes, is Baku, is it?
I know McLaren is Baku. Mercedes, I'm not sure.
Okay. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know there's some coming in Imola for some teams as well. So yeah, look, I'm not 100% sure on when their upgrades are coming. So, but yeah, today they were impressive. Yeah, very impressive until obviously poor El George.
Yeah, so we had the it was a virtual safety car, and George and Carlos both decided to come in and change the tires, and it looked like it was going to be a good move. I don't think anyone really expected the red flag to come out, but it did, and George was really unfortunate. That was the thing that really swayed it away from him today, Isidro, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was doing. I imagined he would finish first, or at least there'll be a strong fight with Max. Russell was doing fine until the fire. So I would be happy to see, because I could see Max trying and being aggressive and overtake Russell.
Yeah.
But in the past, Russell knows how to defend very well from those attacks. Wouldn't be impossible to see Russell finish first today if there was an unfortunate fire.
Dave, I can tell by your face that you might disagree with what Isidro just said.
I totally disagree. Sorry, Isidro. I just think the ease of how Verstappen overtook Hamilton. I mean, it was so quick, and that was in the straight, wasn't even in the twisty stuff. Like, so, I mean, I think he would have taken Russell as well. I think at the start, I know I'm wrapping it up, Isidro. I'm wrapping it up. I think, I'll just stop. Go on, Isidro. What do you got to say in your retort?
What I'm saying is, you cannot compare Russell with Hamilton. Hamilton is older and is trying to get his championship, and he whines a little bit about the car, while Russell is young as Max and wouldn't be afraid to fight as much to keep his position, rather than Hamilton just said, "Oh, you're faster, just pass by me, that's fine." I'm sure Russell will not be as easy as Hamilton.
Oh, I don't know. I think for the sake of our time on the podcast here today, I think I'm just going to have to end it with, I'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I think I think Hamilton proved it by sort of fairly being aggressive with on the inside of Max Verstappen, then taking him when he took him at the start and pushed him. Sort of started pushing him off slightly off the track. I think he's well able to get his elbows out still at the age he's at.
I think I agree with what you're saying, Isidro, but I think the machines that they're in are just completely different. I don't think there's any hope of that Mercedes keeping up with the Red Bull. But you're not here for my opinion.
But hang on, before we move on, so let me. Scotty, I'm putting you on the hot seat now.
All right. Okay.
So what you're saying, what you're going to agree with, that if Lewis and Russell are both in cars that they're both comfortable driving, both equal cars, and they're both comfortable driving them, that you feel that Russell would possibly come out on top of Hamilton if they're being attacked. Say they were being attacked by, say, Max Verstappen or something like that.
Oh no, what I'm saying is that I think that if Max and George both had the same car, that he would have a lot more of a chance to finish in front of Max than he does in a Mercedes.
Oh, Max Verstappen. Sorry, I thought we were talking about Lewis and George.
No, just George's hopes of even finishing first is what I was commenting on there.
Okay. Well, let's,
I have no opinion on the Lewis George one. I'm still quite up in the air about that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's. Let's move on.
give me stay with George for a second, but just give me the details of his retirement. What happened there? Power unit failure?
I've seen a bit of conversation about that they reckon that it was a turbo leak into the power unit or something like that. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I have seen some videos and articles about the inner workings of a Formula One engine, but I'm not 100% sure how that was going to cause what happened there today. Especially when you hear the car, it just didn't sound like that. But it's a power unit issue anyway of some description, so whether it's but they'll be able to resolve that before. They reckon they'll be able to rebuild that engine or repair that engine for the next race, so that he shouldn't be taking any penalties anyway.
Okay. Speaking of penalties, we had a little bit of chatter on the restart about Lewis not keeping within 10 car lengths, and then it was subsequently, I think it was thrown out, and it was deemed that Lewis was within his rights to do that. There was nothing else. There was no real conversation there. That was just done and dusted.
No, that was just Verstappen just not interpreting the rules correctly and just was chancing his arm to try and get Hamilton a penalty. That's all that was. He was just, I mean, he probably actually did it. He probably knew the rules. He was just trying to stir the shit a little bit and see whether something stuck.
Which we love to see. We love to see.
We do, yeah.
Cedric, give me a bit on Hamilton today overall. What do you think of his performance?
I think it was just a quiet race for him. We didn't see many issues, many complaints about the car. At least not as much as he's been doing the past few races.
Yeah.
So overall, I think he was happy that the car was able to fight the Red Bull at least for a little while.
Yeah. A lot of conversation about tires as usual, but that's Hamilton every week, isn't it really? Let's move on to Aston Martin, if that's all right with everyone, and have a look at Alonso and Stroll. Quite enough races, bar the tip at the end. But Dave, what do you think of Alonso today? Could he have got even further had we not have all those restarts? Do you think he could have taken Hamilton? He was close at one stage.
He was close, and I thought when we were watching the race before Kevin Magnussen's crash, I think it was, I think he went down to about 2.5 seconds, something like that, behind Hamilton for quite a long time. And that wouldn't be uncommon for him, just sort of managing the tires and, managing the gap to make sure that he had sort of was in distance and had the tires to attack at the end of the race. Then as the laps were ticking down, I mean, I think we got to like 6-7 laps left, and he wasn't able to really make much of a dent past the 1.61 to 1.4 seconds from Hamilton. Every time he sort of started gaining, Hamilton was able to sort of match him on pace. So I don't think he had it. I think he might have admitted that himself in a post-race interview as well. I think he knew that he just didn't have it today. Hamilton just did a good race, and the Aston Martins just didn't have the answer to Mercedes today.
And nearly an absolutely heartbreaking moment for everyone when Carlos Sainz on the restart tipped Alonso, possibly taking away that podium. I think there was an outcry just globally there. Isidro, what do you think of that whole scenario and how quickly Alonso was on the radio, not complaining, but saying, look at the rules from last year from Silverstone in the restart, check whether we've been through one sector, just how quickly he reacted to that incident.
That's the difference of being a top class driver as Alonso. He knows immediately what to say and what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that the radio conversation just after the Sainz clip his car, I imagine there'll be a lot of words towards Carlos Sainz's mom, probably.
Jeez.
And they clip that conversation. I could see Alonso just screaming and calling names and everything like that, because just two races, two laps before the end, and he gets clipped, and he could see that all was lost. But fortunately, that didn't happen. He was managed to finish top 3, another podium again. This time, no chance from Russell to take it away, even for a few hours.
Yeah, it was nearly Sainz that took it away today.
Yeah, and Stroll doing very well, getting the P4. So overall, I think Aston Martin did a very good job this weekend. A P3, P4, that's looking good.
Solid as always. Dave, tell me, well, not as always, but as of this season anyway. Dave, tell me about your thoughts on Aston Martin today. Was there cries and shouts when Alonso got tipped?
Yeah, there was, of course, everyone was waiting for. I think everyone thought he was going to get second as well. I think everyone was thinking he had. There was something there still to give, and so yeah, it would have been a pity had it have ended like that for him. But thankfully, obviously, the Tifosi won't be happy. But I'm kind of glad that it ended the way it did, and Alonso got reinstated into his P3 position that he deserved. It would have been a harsh outcome for Aston Martin if it had gone the other way.
Definitely. We would have had a longer conversation, a longer podcast today, I'd say.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the Tifosi. Stroll initially tagged Leclerc on the opening lap and started the red flag craziness of this race. But Ferrari this weekend, they're not coming away happy yet again. Isidro, tell me about their weekend.
Ferrari looks like Williams from last year. You barely see them on track, and when they aren't on track, they only last for a few laps and then they are gone. I mean, Leclerc was very unfortunate, and Sainz was just a shadow of what it was. So I think they are missing Mattia Binotto.
Oof. Big
Jesus,
shout.
already
That's a huge shout.
after 3 races.
I mean, the man's gone, and they haven't did. They are a shadow of they were last year under Mattia Binotto. So I think they fired the wrong man, it seems.
Oof. Okay, Dave, give me an opinion on that. I was going to ask you another question, but I want to hear what you want to say on that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. I do agree. I don't think Binotto was the right man to fire last season. I think there was other members of the team that were holding them back. But for this year, yeah, their miserable season is just continuing, and I don't see where it's going to end for them. Like I mean, I just don't think it. Even in Baku, I don't think they've got a car that's suited to that track. So I think the best they can probably hope for in Baku is maybe a 5th or 6th or something like that. Yeah, in terms of, I think Fred, though, I think he's a perfectly capable team principal. I think he needs it. I think there's so much wrong at Ferrari. They've only just made changes. I think there's definitely going to be time needed. But like a football team changing their manager, you have to give someone time to change the culture, what's happened from his predecessor, like, because what's gone on for 10 years at Ferrari, it needs to be undone. And 3 races isn't going to solve that. But that being said, the drivers on track, they need to be a little bit more disciplined. I think that accident today from Charles Leclerc, involving Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll, I do think that was Leclerc's fault. It was a racing incident, but if you had to lay blame, it would have been on Leclerc. I think he cut across Stroll, and Stroll had nowhere to go. I mean, he was alongside, he had the nose of his car alongside Alonso. He had nowhere to go, short of taking out his own teammate. But Leclerc decided to cut across him. So I think that was of his own making. That was a little bit of not keeping a level head and thinking, do you know what? It's a long race. Let me just go a little bit wide. Let me pull out of this. But he just went for it. Same can be said for Sainz. Just over aggressive, hot headedness. So yeah, team wise, time will tell. Driver wise, I think they just need to have, the team need to sit down with them and get them to refocus, because I think they're getting frustrated that the team isn't where they thought it was going to be when they signed for Ferrari. Obviously, the plan that they were sold on when they signed hasn't come to fruition in any shape or form. In fact, it's probably gone backwards from where they were told it was going to be at the moment. So, yeah, I think Fred needs to sit down with those drivers and reassure them that they're in the right team and give them confidence in the car, the team, to see them through the rest of the season. Because if they don't and leave them to go on as they are, and that hot-headedness continues, they're going to have one of their worst seasons ever.
Wow. So watch this space for Ferrari. You could dress it up slightly and say that, okay, they were unlucky throughout the weekend if it wasn't for, well, not the weekend, today anyway, if it wasn't for, say, a tip by Stroll, and it wasn't for the tire change and then the red flag coming out, it's possible we could have been looking at something different. But I do agree with the point, that the
it was in there. It was their own making, though. There were all instances of their own making, of the drivers making as well. Like that, the penalty that Sainz got was of his making. Whether people think it was fair or not, it doesn't matter. Like he did what he did. And the accident, the tip from Stroll was of Leclerc's making, not necessarily of Stroll's making. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think they just need to have level heads going into Baku, refresh. I mean, I think we've got a month now until Baku. So they need time to sit down and clear their heads, come back fresh and focused.
A team that definitely felt that they had level heads today. McLaren. What a performance by the two lads. Now, Dave, I'll start with you on this one. Do you think this was a matter of luck as well? And the fact that, we started off with 20 cars and we ended up with, 12 in the end?
Yeah.
Is that why we have two McLarens in the top 10, which was one of my predictions from last week, by the way? But anyway, go on.
We will address that later. Yeah, as for McLaren, I mean, like, who did it? Like, they outdid the Alfa Romeos and the AlphaTauri of Sonoda. I mean, is that really like? And then of course you've got just the absolute carnage of the restarts. I think if we had a clean race from the start to finish, especially when it looked like, say even you take it from the first restart where everybody did their tire changes early, went onto the hards early, and they were looking to go long. I think Hamilton was concerned that the tires weren't going to last that long. But if you take it that from that moment on, if everyone stayed on hard compound tires till the end of the race, I don't think that those McLarens would have been anywhere near where they finished. I think they definitely wouldn't have been in the points anyway had the rest of the grid finished. So I think that they are in. It was they're in a position of circumstance. Do you know what I mean? Like they got those positions based off what happened around them. And look, you can only get points and positions from the race that you're racing. It's not their fault that they were there to capitalize on everyone else's mistakes. So I'll give them credit. They did better than the Ferraris did. Yeah. So, they kept cool heads. I mean, they could easily lose the plot more. They would have more reason to lose the plot than the Ferrari drivers do. But they seem to keep the level head. They seem to just, as much as they're annoyed where the car is, they just keep their heads down and they just kept plugging along. And there they are, finishing 6th and 8th. So, fair play to them.
You're right to say plugging along. It's beneficial in the carnage, maybe, that they're both driving two tractors through the mess that was on track. But anyway, there they stood. Cedro, Alpine. Break down how this finished for the lads first of all, and then we'll talk about how great the race was. But what happened to Alpine at the end?
I think just in that last two races. I have to be fair. I don't think Gasly has the intent of getting Ocon up the race and just put both Alpine out of the race. It was just all that confusion. Just all it took was just a distraction from Gasly and took Ocon out. It was a shame because until then Alpine was doing very well in the race, and I think even if that didn't happen, I think McLaren would still be able to get some points. At least Norris was always the guy that you can count on McLaren to get points. And unlike Dave was saying, I think that McLaren would still be able to get points even if that Alpine incident, Alpine crash didn't happen. But I think it was just unfortunate. I don't think Gasly wanted to take Ocon out, especially he was on lead.
Dave, anything else to add to Alpine there?
No, I suppose that it was a bit unfortunate. I know there's some complaints about why there was a penalty given to Carlos Sainz and not to Pierre Gasly, which I have to say I kind of agree. I don't understand why the Alpines didn't get a penalty, or sorry, not the Alpines, but why Gasly didn't get a penalty for cutting across. Because, I mean, effectively, he didn't look and he didn't see that Ocon was behind him. Sorry, it was Ocon and Gasly that took him out, wasn't it? So Gasly didn't see that Ocon was there behind him, cut across the traffic and took them both out. So in theory, I'll be honest, I'm surprised there was no penalty given there for the next race.
Yeah, go on, Cedric.
Maybe because also Gasly lost the car, lost the position, so he didn't get anything. Unlike Sainz that did clip Alonso but kept going, Gasly and Ocon just both crash out.
Yeah, but you give a penalty based off what was done, not we feel sorry because you've sort of screwed yourselves over, so we're not going to give you the penalty. It's irrelevant of whether the cars kept going or not. It was the action that caused it is what's the penalty's given for, regardless of the outcome. So if that is the case, which I'll be honest, I kind of agree with Isidro, that's possibly what the thinking was, because there's no other reason why why Gasly didn't get a penalty, but Carlos Sainz did. So the only logic there is kind of what Isidro was hinting at, is that the stewards just kind of went, well, they've kind of wiped both cars out. They've given themselves enough penalty, so let's not compound their misery.
So what sort of a penalty would have been given in place there if it wasn't going to be a time penalty? What's being applied?
Probably would have to have been a grid penalty or something like that for next week.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you can't apply. I mean, there's no point. You can't apply a time penalty on two cars that didn't finish.
Yeah.
And you can't apply a time penalty for the next race coming. So the only logical, or even if they didn't apply a penalty for the next race, like, so if they didn't give anything in terms of a grid penalty or anything like that, like a 5-place grid penalty, then they should have maybe at least looked at points on the license for Gasly, like some sort of penalty points on his license. I think that would have been sufficient, maybe. I mean, it was a genuine accident. Like, I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't aggressive driving. It was just in the sheer panic of the chaos. There was probably so many areas you had to look at that particular moment when he was rejoining the track. There was so much going on that he just couldn't absorb it all, and unfortunately, Ocon was the piece of information he left out and took him out. So yeah, look, I don't understand why he didn't get a penalty. But like I said, I think I'll probably side with what Isidro says there. I think possibly they thought they've done enough damage. So what's a penalty point, or what's what's a 5 grid place penalty or something, which is ridiculous, but who knows? Well,
there is pretense there. I think it was last year after the Japanese Grand Prix that Tsunoda was given a penalty, or possibly points to his license for dangerous driving.
Say it again. What was the precedent?
So it was Tsunoda in Japan. I think it was driving without the seatbelt properly connected.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a grid penalty applied then to
for the following race,
the next race. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean it's not uncommon, and I mean he took a driver out. It doesn't matter whether it was his own team or not. So I mean, think of it this way, and I will finish up on at this because I'm conscious of taking up a lot of time on Alpine here. But I mean, think of it this way: had Gasly have cut across, Lando Norris and wiped out the McLaren and himself, do you think he wouldn't get a penalty then? I mean, there's no way. Like, I mean, because McLaren would go absolutely batshit crazy as to why no penalty was given. So, in that circumstance, when you think about it that way, there's no reason then why he shouldn't have been given a penalty just for because he took out his own teammate. The action and the event was still the same, just because of the car he took out was different. Shouldn't determine what your penalty is.
Yeah. Fair point. Nothing really from the best of the rest. Just a note there about the rookies that have come in. Out of the rookies that have come in this year, who do you think is performing the best so far from what we've seen?
Who do we have? Piastri. We have De Vries,
Sargent,
and Sargent. Jesus, what a shit show!
Yeah, right. So, Piastri is the only one who actually finished the race today.
I know, but I mean, I don't think that was out of, like we said, I think that was purely based off the circumstances that were around it. But now, I mean, the other drivers didn't. But if you take into context the other two races as well, I don't know. It's write their names on a piece of paper, put them in a hat, and pick one out. Because at the moment, I couldn't pick any of them.
Not a great showing so far from the three of them, to be honest.
I think I would definitely be putting Sargent last, because Albon is absolutely he's doing fucking the business in that fucking Williams. I mean, look how fast it was on that middle sector.
Yeah.
Like, he was beating everybody on the middle sector. What?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then there's Sargent then, just not keeping pace in any shape or form. So I would say maybe I could put in the pecking order, certainly put Piastri or Sargent last. So a toss up between De Vries and Piastri. Maybe Piastri nudges it because he got the 8th place today.
Yeah, avoided all of the traffic.
Yeah.
Right, Dave, take us on to the next section of the podcast, if you please.
Alrighty. Well, before we get on to our prediction game, we have some news on the F1 Fantasy game. Finally, there have been updates. So, Stop Inventing is still on the top of the table. So he or she or them or they or whatever you want to say is yep, see. All right, so maybe we shouldn't have laughed as hard on that one. I think we dived in too much of that one. So Stop Inventing anyway is at the top of the league. We got 305 points this weekend. Very nice. He had Logan Sargent. He'd Alonso, he'd Gasly, Perez, Verstappen. He did nice. So I think we are not doing as good.
No.
I am currently 13th on 818. And sorry, Stop Inventing is at the top of the league with 1,002 points already.
Whoa.
Team Track is in second, 988. And then I'm down in P13 on 818. Scotty, you have gone from, I think you were second at one point and have now dropped to so far down they don't even have numbers. Let me see. How far?
No, that's
I think I'm 18th, I think, is where I was last. But
you're 17th on 723. And Isidro, you're up to 18th on 657.
Oh.
So that is our
That's an improvement.
Well, it is an improvement because you were at the bottom of the league. So that's it. So we're doing well. Everyone's doing well, everyone's doing well and we're progressing except for Scotty. So anyone, if you want to join, feel free to join in. It's probably a bit late if you haven't already got a team. You might be struggling to get anywhere, but by all means, give it a go. But if you do have a team already and you want to join in on our league, just go onto the official F1 Fantasy website and search Late Night Race Review, and there is prizes, of course, for the season winner. So that's the fancy out of the way. On to the big business, the predictions game. So Australia, right? My top 3, what I had predicted from last week. Everyone keep in mind, we do these predictions after the previous race, so we don't have the luxury of qualifying, free practice, or any sort of news leading up to the race. We have these purely done from the race before. So just to say that we're better than everybody else if we get it right.
Yeah.
We nail it if we get it right. So my top 3 was, I had Max to win. All right. I had Perez second. That did not happen. And Alonso third. Just about happened. Again, just about happened. He was a bit dicey last time as well.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty, who did we go with?
I had a Max win, which is an automatic point. Perez P2, which did not happen. Russell P3, which did not happen either.
Oh, Jesus. All right, Isidro, who's your top 3?
Max to win, Alonso second, Russell third.
No, not looking good, lads. Not looking good.
Yeah. I think
all right.
You got this, Dave.
My flop. Fucking Carlos Sainz. I thought it was... It could have happened, but it didn't.
Wrong Ferrari.
Yeah.
All right. Scotty, who's your flop?
My flop was the wrong Mercedes. I went for Hamilton outside the top 10.
Yeah.
It was Russell.
Damn it.
Although, even if it was Russell outside top 10, you would still didn't get the point.
Why is that?
Because Russell didn't finish. He got the DNF.
DNF.
Well, technically he's outside of the top 10 if he didn't.
No. We cleared this rule up.
All right, Isidro.
Right. And Isidro, who'd you go with?
Perez, DNF.
Oh, okay.
I was hopeful based on the qualification, but nope. He did very well, solid P5.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have then. My surprise was Hulkenberg, top 10. Nice.
Yeah, you got it right.
Good job.
Now,
Here we
Scotty,
go. Now,
fucking
last
proud
week,
as fucking punch here.
last week I said, right, my actual guess was both McLarens inside the top 10. And I think I was annexed on that because it was...
No.
Either. Did I say either?
You said either. If you'd said
okay.
both, you would have got that, and you would have probably got a double points finish for that.
Oh, damn it. Okay, anyway, I went for Piastri inside the top 10, which was a big shout, and it happened. It happened. It took 8 cars to be obliterated, but it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Isidro, we have a little... we have a
Albon
technicality
top 10.
here.
It was Albon top 10.
Ooh.
And again, I was hopeful with his P8 on the qualifying. But
I appreciate your honesty on that, Isidro.
Yeah.
For anyone that obviously, well, not for anyone, for everyone who can't see, I forgot to enter last week's or the last time Isidro was surprised. So he could have just told us anything there. Anyone in the top 10. You could have said Lando Norris or something. We would have had to have believed you.
Fair play.
All right. So, well, that's I take that with 3 points. Scotty takes that on, or comes in on 2, and Isidro 1. So I take the win this week.
Just about
up to the tables here, which I haven't been updating. It would appear. Bollocks. Who won last week? Oh, none of us. That's why I didn't update it.
Yeah, 0. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm up 2, and you boys are on goose eggs.
You're Max Verstappening us. By the looks
I am totally Max Verstappen, and yeah. All right. Okay. So my top 3. Oh God, I didn't decide. I have I have an or person here, and I didn't fucking decide who I was going with. Okay. All right. Well, I have Max anyway as finishing first. Obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not having Haaland in your fantasy football team.
Yeah,
like,
it just doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. So Max is top in finishing first. Now, this is my problem. I'm going to have to decide pretty quick. I am going to go with George Russell second.
Ooh.
And I am going to go with, this is where I have 2 drivers and I haven't picked who's going to finish third. I am going to have to go with, God, I'm going to hate saying it. I think I'm going to have to go with Hamilton.
Oh.
I want to go with Alonso, but I'm going with Hamilton. I just think, like Australia, it was a track that suited them. And I just think Azerbaijan, I think it might suit them.
So all that conversation that Mercedes doesn't have the car, where is Perez?
Hang on a second. I just said it was track specific. All right, fine. I'm going Alonso. Done. Change.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there you go. Now, smart ass. Done. Locked in. Moving on.
Totally stepped on my prediction. Okay, my top 3 are...
Blame Isidro for that. You can have it out after the match. Or after the
match. Verstappen, P1. I had Perez, P2, which was a slight difference from yours, I think. And Alonso in P3. So Verstappen, Perez, Alonso.
Okay.
I actually have the same.
As Scotty.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
The excitement in your voice. Scotty.
Yeah. No, well, you two always seem to have the same.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's you two that have the same rather than me and one of you guys.
And that's why we are at the end of the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's only our second place finisher. We've all changed.
Yeah.
So my flop is going to be... this I have to be given this, so I'm going to have to probably defend this decision, but both McLarens outside the top 10.
Oh,
because we did always say that if they finish in the top 10, then they are game for outside the top 10 the following week.
I guess on a technicality we have to give it to you.
And I'm going with both
you said
of them
both,
as well.
not either.
Both of them.
So.
Not either or, like Scotty tries, or you try to say. I went both.
Yeah.
So
both
McLarens outside top 10.
Mm.
You're still reluctant.
You're saying this is your flop, yeah.
That's my flop.
Wait a minute. No, it's almost a given. Both McLaren's outside top 10.
Hang on a second. This is like the F1 community changing rules because it doesn't suit them. We've always said that if they finish in the top 10 on the previous race, that they're fair game for an outside the top 10 in a flop, or vice versa.
Yeah, but it's McLaren 2023, not McLaren 2022.
Oh, so now it depends on the car. So the rule
Okay.
doesn't doesn't matter anymore.
Let's give it to him. Let's give it to him. Go on, you can have it. You can have it.
Under
Just to
protest,
shut
but
me
okay.
up and move
No, there's
on.
a reason that I'm going to say you can have it.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
I just saw you scribbling down, so you just changed something. Oh,
Yeah, I did.
okay. Well, what can I do? I've made my bed. I have to lie in it.
Yeah, it's not for the flop. It's for my surprise. But my flop is Guan Yu Zhou outside the top 10.
Why? Oh,
Oh,
why is that?
yeah,
Why is
fuck
that a
me.
surprise?
He's inside the
surprise
top
win.
10. The rules imply that he has to be, and you have to give it to me because the rules say it.
Like it's true. That was the rule we put in place, but in this circumstances, the rule is fucking shit.
You drove it home, baby. I've got another one for you in a second.
Oh, you're gonna double down on this.
Yes, I am. Right, Isidro. I'm going to show you, Dave. Right, go on, Isidro.
Hamilton, DNF.
Ooh. You think he's
Russell gonna swap the cars for next for Azerbaijan.
If Isidro's predictions come off, he is going to rub this in our face.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
For us being cowards on our predictions. All right, my surprise is going to be Alex Albon. And now I could go top 10, inside the top 10, right? But if I went with, would you give me any extra point if I pick a higher position? No, I name the position for Alex Albon. No?
No.
Okay, but then I'm sticking with top 10.
Okay, yeah, give it to him.
I was going to go P7
Oh.
for a 2-pointer.
Oh, I mean...
He's 73.
Sorry?
It's P8. No, sorry. 2 points,
Albon
it's
didn't finish.
P9. No, you said P7, the 3 point.
No. I said
guess.
Alex Albon inside the top
Oh.
10 for a single point, but if you'd give me 2 points, I'd go for a P7 finish.
Yeah.
But it's too late. We're moving on.
No, yeah.
All right, Scotty, what have you concocted now that's going to ruin
My
it?
surprise, considering the rules of the game, are Charles Leclerc inside the top 10.
No, he DNF'd.
Well,
That's not the rule. The rule is he would have to have finished outside the top 10 to finish inside top.
is it really?
Yeah, that's the fucking rule.
Feck. All right then. Damn it. Carlos Sainz, top 10.
I'm so glad you tripped yourself up on that one. You overplayed your hand, Scotty.
Okay, I just changed it there. Carlos Sainz inside the top 10.
Oh, on a penalty. Oh, fuck.
He finished P12, Dave. It's the rules of the game, apparently.
Yeah.
I would nearly change my McLaren one to change the rules. That is ridiculous. I give you the Joe one because that was this.
That's secretly what I'm trying to get you to do. But
Well, if that's the gain, I'll before we finish up, I'll change the McLaren one then.
No, go for it. Go on.
No, I'm happy to change it because I mean, if we're going to do this every week, this could get ridiculous. This is like Formula One teams finding a loophole and just poking at it, and that's exactly what we're doing here.
I heard an interesting thing during the week that that Red Bull, to avoid the whole wind tunnel time thing, were putting their car on the back of a truck and driving it around with that paint on it to see what way the aerodynamics were going. Apparently that was their way around wind tunnel time. They were driving it around England on a truck. There's pictures of it, apparently.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the bigger man here, and I'm going to go with Lance Stroll DNF.
Okay, cool.
For your surprise?
For my flop.
For your flop.
So I'll change mine to Joe.
Even though
DNF.
Let me go with this. Yeah, okay, Joe DNF.
DNF, yeah.
Even though they were the rules, we didn't push them to this extreme before. So the rule within an acceptable boundary that we are all right. We all accept.
Yours was as ridiculous as mine. Let's be fair.
Not quite. You went with Carlos Sainz to finish inside the top 10.
That's as likely. That's as likely as a McLaren not finishing outside the top 10.
Well, I hope both McLarens finish inside the top 10.
Oh, I hope they fucking win.
Okay.
I originally actually had Alex Albon to finish inside the top 10 as well, but I can change that now. I'm going to go Valtteri Bottas inside the top 10. Is that okay?
Yeah, I
Is
do
that
that.
acceptable?
That's a surprise.
As
Yeah.
my surprise, yeah.
Yeah. Alfa Romeo will be surprised with that as well.
Yeah. So we'll have one community at large.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, Isidro, who's your surprise?
Top 10, Albon.
Jesus. We were all going for Albon top 10. All right.
All right. We finally got there. Jesus Christ.
Whew. That was a good one.
I'm fucking drained. That was more exhausting than watching the Formula One this morning. 6:00. All right, perfect. Well, that's locked in. We don't have a race now till Baku. We might jump on maybe in 2 weeks. Maybe do see if there's some news floating around. We'll do a little bit of a roundup before we get launched back into the next part of the season for Baku. But if we don't, and you don't hear from us, don't be surprised. And if you don't hear from us, you will see us for the late night race review for the Baku Grand Prix. So until then,